Record. And we're recording. Great. Alrighty. Well, welcome to the Q&A portion of this week's Tour Tuesday. My name is Lizzie Gray, and I'm the project coordinator for Connected Lane County. I am joined by Carrie Bailey of Weyerhaeuser. Carrie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Bailey. I'm the HR manager at Weyerhaeuser Cottage Grove Lumber. We make lumber. Weyerhaeuser has sites here in Oregon, in Lebanon, Eugene, and here in Cottage Grove. We also have sites all over the country who produce different wood products, and we also have an entire part of our business that goes from seed to log. So they actually plant the tree seeds and produce the logs that we use to make wood products.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm excited to hear more. But before we start, I just wanted to remind students that by now you should have watched the Weyerhaeuser tour video that Olivia emailed out on Monday morning. If you have not seen it, it's about 10 minutes long, so I would suggest going over and watching the video really quickly and then hurry on back to us so you can catch the rest of the Q&A. You can find the link in your email or on our YouTube channel, which is Connected Lane County. And just like last time, while Carrie and I are chatting, we won't be able to see or hear you, but you can type in your questions to the chat box, and we'll do our best to get through all of them. So just let them flow. But I guess I will get us started while students kind of noodle on some questions. And the very first question I have for you is just to can you walk us through the supply chain of the product in the Cottage Grove mill? So where do you get your timber, and then where does it go?
So we get our timber from either Weyerhaeuser sources, our timberland side of the business, or private haulers. About 60% comes from Weyerhaeuser sources, and about 30 to 40% comes from private haulers. We need about 185 loads of logs every day, 5 days a week to run our mill. And when the logs come in the log yard, they're sorted, they're scaled, which means measured, looking for defects. The logs are fed into the mill on a big, huge deck. Once they come into the mill, the first machine they go through is the Debarker. There is an operator. The first thing the operator does is a visual inspection of the log. So if a log is really sweepy, which means it's more like a comma than a straight line, the Barker operator will cut off a section of it, so it goes through the Debarker in a better manner. Goes through the Debarker, which removes bark, hence the name Debarker.
Yep.
Then it goes to the merch saw. The merch saw can cut it to any length. The longest lumber we do is 20 feet long. The shortest lumber we do is 8 feet long. So it's going to cut it 8, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 feet long. There's also an operator there. After it goes to the Debarker, it goes on our infeed decks where it's sorted. We have sort of the bigger logs on one deck, the smaller logs on another deck. As it exits that deck, it goes into our primary breakdown, which is a quad saw. It has 4 round saws in it. It has a top chip head and a bottom chip head. So as the log goes through, the top chip head makes a flat surface on the top, bottom chip head makes a flat surface on the bottom, and then you have 4 saws on each side. So you make a square out of the log in the middle, and then you can have up to 2 pieces of lumber on each side. One side of those those pieces go to our board edger, which edges along the sides, makes it look nice on the sides. The other side goes to the trimmer. The board edger also feeds into the trimmer. The trimmer cuts it to length. So again, 8 feet, 10 feet, up to 20 feet long. Meantime, the big piece that's now a big square, and we call it a cant because it can't roll anymore, it goes into our gang saw, and each of these saws has an operator. The gang saw has 9 saws, top and bottom, so 18 saws altogether. They meet like this, and the gang saw cuts it into 2-inch lengths. So all of our lumber is 2 by 4, 2 by 6, up to 2 by 12. And once it exits that gang saw, then it goes to the trimmer where the other up to 4 pieces are going. After the trimmer, it goes into the sorter. In the sawmill, it's sorted by length and width. So we have a sorter bin for every length and width we do. Each bin is dumped, goes into the stacker, makes a unit. So that those are units you might see stacked here or at other lumber producers. It leaves the sawmill in a unit. Once those units are out in the yard, they're fed into our planer mill, and they're fed by size because they've been stacked by size. They go into the planer mill. The first thing that happens in the planer mill is the actual planer, which makes the lumber smooth. So when it comes out of the sawmill, it's very square, very rough. You get splinters from it. When it goes through the planer, it's very nice. It also gets treated for pest and mold. Because all we do is green lumber. We don't dry our lumber at all. Once it goes out of the planer, it's graded. We have an automatic grade scanner. So one of the things, if you ever see our mill, if you look at the video, is it's very high tech. Everything is optimized, which means every machine is looking at the piece of lumber, scanning it, and saying, what's the best thing to do with this piece of lumber? And so after the planer, it's graded. We also have a human grader because our high-tech grader can't detect split, rot, or mold. After it goes through the grader and the human grader, then it goes also in a sorter, just like in the sawmill, except it's sorted by grade in the planer because you're doing all one size. Then it's stacked, also same as a sawmill, and then it goes into our shipping yard, and shipping ships by truck and by rail, and we can ship between 30 and 40 trucks a day and up to 16 rail cars a day. What we produce out of this facility in a year is, last year we did 390 million board feet, which is enough for 27,000, 2,000 square foot houses. So we produce a lot of lumber. In fact, the sawmill, if you think of a board foot is a piece of wood that's 12 inches by 12 inches by 1 inch tall. And we produce up to 80,000 of those an hour in the sawmill. It's a lot of wood that goes through this facility. It's very fast. Again, if you watch the video, if you ever have a tour here, you'd be amazed at how fast it is. You'd be amazed at how high tech it is, and how only when there's a problem do people touch lumber. So if everything runs ideally, all the machinery is running ideally, nobody touches a piece of lumber. It's not. It's very automated.
Great. And
that answer your question?
It does answer my question. However, I am curious, and it looks like someone else is curious. How far away does your wood go? So are your distributors all around the world? Are they
not all around the world. The farthest it goes is back east to the northeast. Our largest customer is Home Depot. About a third of our lumber goes to Home Depot. Wow. And we service Home Depots a lot in California, Arizona, the Southwest. We service the one in Eugene, the Home Depot there. Two of our other sister mills also service Home Depot, our Longview mill out of Longview, Washington, and our Santiam mill out of Lebanon, Oregon. They do the Washington area and northern Oregon Home Depots.
That's great. So the next question, I actually wrote this down too. So I heard you mention operators a couple times in kind of that sequence of events. And one of the students actually put in a question that says, a lot of manufacturing processes look automated. What roles do your workers play in your factory?
So I'll give you our quad saw for an example. So our quad saw, if you remember, is where our main log, after it's been debarked and cut to length, is broken down. The quad saw is an extremely important part of our process because it determines what the lumber is going to look like coming out of the planer, what it's going to look like shipping. And the quad saw operator has 16 cameras. It's very important that that person is monitoring all those cameras. It's a very fast-paced job, and they really have to be technically proficient. The saw itself is quite long. It's not like a chainsaw or a table saw. It's very long. And so they're monitoring, not only watching the piece of wood as it goes through, but also the different parts of the machine and making sure that everything is running properly. The operators also can manually override. So if the quad saw says, okay, this is the solution, it's going to cut 4 2x8s and 2 2x4s on the side, the operator can say, wait a second, that doesn't make sense, and do a manual override. The operator also controls the feed going in. So as I was saying, pre-quad saw, it's sorted by length or by size. And the reason for that is that those chip heads actually seize the piece of wood. And if you have chip heads that are have, say, a 10-inch, or let's say a 6-inch diameter log followed by a 12-inch diameter log, they have trouble sometimes seizing those quickly. So you want to feed, it's for a faster process and also for higher quality and not messing up the machine. You want to feed smaller logs followed by smaller logs, and then you switch to bigger logs followed by bigger logs. So the operator is key into making sure that that happens properly. So it's a very, every saw is a very important part of the process. Part of the sawmill is independent. So the barker and the merchandiser can run independently, but the rest of the sawmill, if the quad is blocked up, the rest of the sawmill is shut down completely. So it's really important every part of the process that everything is running smoothly. Likewise, at the end of the process, if the stacker is not running properly, that backs up the process backwards to the quad saw.
Got it. Got it. So it sounds like in order to see a more optimal, I don't even know, like way to cut up a log, you'd have to have a pretty trained eye. Are
Yes.
the folks who do that, can you tell me a little bit about how someone might get to that position?
So the quad saw is the highest paying position in the sawmill, so it takes some time to get there. But any of our positions, so I'll just start out with when we hire somebody for a general labor position.
Great.
Once you set foot on the plant site, day one, you start 2 weeks of safety orientation. And so when we hire people, we do sometimes have people who have mill experience, but about 2/3 to 3/4 of the people who walk in the store do not have any mill experience, have not ever been in a sawmill until they interview with us. So it starts right out from the very beginning. So you have 2 solid weeks of classroom training. Like I said, it's mostly safety. And then you have 3 weeks of training on shift. Then you come back to the classroom for a week, and then you have another week of training before you're officially onboarded. That's all orientation. And then after that, every time you start a new job, and we have a bid system here, so you bid on jobs and get awarded jobs. There's also an extensive training process. We have a whole packet, it's about 20, 30 pages long for each job. Wow. That is basically a long checklist of, taught you this, you understand this, you can do this. Everything to do with safety, operation, problems, it's all in that packet. And then you also have a trainer, of course, who's helping you along and going through that packet. To get signed off on the packet, you also have to understand mechanically and electrically how that machine works. And so we have a millwright and an electrician who also train you on that machine.
Wow. Wow. So a lot of training.
Yes, a lot of training.
Huge emphasis on safety.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. Can you describe some of those entry-level positions? I think you call them laborers, but are there multiple positions that, say, someone fresh out of high school could occupy?
So we hire in groups. So we just had a group March 3rd. We had 16 people, and those 16 people went to various positions. So when I say laborer, it just means that you're assigned a job, and you could be the board edger operator, you could be the gang operator, you could be on the stacker, you can be on the sorter, you could be cleanup, you could be any of those things. So those 16 people just get randomly assigned. It's just random, wherever we have openings, one person goes here, one person goes here, 2 people go here. And then from there, you get trained in whatever position you're assigned to, and then you're open to bid. You can bid from the first day you're here on the plant site. So we post a job that says, okay, gang operator on this shift, and everybody who's interested signs it. Most senior person gets awarded it and moves to that job and trains on that job.
So it's that simple. If you're the most senior person, you get it.
Right.
That's interesting. That's different from a lot of other companies. Why do you do it that way? Do you know the theory behind it?
Well, we're a union shop, first of all. So we have a contract and agreement with our union employees. It says this is how we're going to do things so that it's fair and just for everyone. We have, like I said, the seniority system that rewards you for the time that you've put in here. The more time you put in here, the more choice of positions you have. everyone gets 3 bids a year. So you could do, and some people do this, do 3 different jobs in a year, and the next year do 3 different jobs, and the next year do 3 different jobs. And then we have people who are on the same job for many, many years. It just really, it depends on what your preference is.
I kind of like the idea of having 3 different jobs in a year. That sounds like it would keep you on your toes. There's a question here that asks, how often do the machines have to be repaired?
Well, that really, really depends. So we target being up 100% of the time, but of course that doesn't always happen. So the main times that we repair the machine, so we have a very odd shift posture in that most of our production is on nights. Well, all of our production is on nights and weekends, if you include Friday and Monday in the weekend. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during day shift, we are down, no production, and we repair machinery, do preventative maintenance during those 3 windows of time. Wow. And then also on Mondays between 2:30 and 5 o'clock, we are down. And then we have little half-hour breaks over the weekend. And then, of course, during a shift, things happen sometimes. We had a problem last weekend with the Debarker, and it caused us to be down for a couple hours, which is a huge downtime event. Most of our downtime events are just a few minutes, but that one, actually 2 logs went into the Debarker at the same time, which, as I've described, you can tell that's not a good thing. So those actually had to be physically removed with chainsaws.
Oh my gosh.
Is a big downtime event. So that wasn't technically really a repair of a machine, but more just an upset condition.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't even think that would be possible. Had you ever seen that before? Was that a totally new incident?
It happens from time to time.
Okay, great. What do you do with all the, speaking of the Debarker, what do you do with all the excess bark and pieces? And
so everything goes into something. So we have bark, we have chips, and we have fine sawdust, and it goes into various things to feed boilers, paper products, toilet paper, diapers. We sell it to various companies that have use for it.
That's great.
So everything is recovered, everything is used.
That's super cool. A question here about someone who's really curious about the trees. Does the wood all come from Douglas fir trees, or are there different types?
That's a great question. Here we just do Doug fir. We have other mills who do multi-species, but here we're just Doug fir, and like I said, green Doug fir. We don't dry our lumber.
Right. And then as a follow-up, do the trees only come from Oregon, or do they come from neighboring states?
Here they only come from Oregon. Wow. Great question.
Does Weyerhaeuser employ foresters or any conservation folks?
Yes, that side of the business isn't my expertise, so I'll answer the best I can. But yes, a lot of the entry-level type positions on the timberland side are foresters or wildlife specialists, those types of positions.
Great. So at the sawmill itself, other than laborers and machine operators and the folks that keep the sawmill running, what other types of jobs are there? I heard you mention electrician, millwright. Can you describe any other jobs?
We have our craft side, which as you mentioned, electricians, millwrights. We also have saw filers. We have our rolling stock mechanics that keep our rolling stock, such as forklifts and loaders, running properly and safety equipped. We also have machinists. We only have one machinist, but we have a machinist. That's a craft as well. But most of our craftspeople are millwrights. Over half of our craftspeople are millwrights.
Got it. And do you have welders?
No, our millwrights weld.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Part of being a millwright.
Sorry, ignorance over here.
No,
what is a millwright?
So a millwright is a person who they start in production, and again, it's a bid job, although there's an interview and testing component of becoming a millwright. Once you're accepted into the Millwright Apprenticeship program, you're going to be working full-time here, and then you also go to Lane Community College, and this is over a 4-year period until you test out and get your millwright card.
Got it.
And Weyerhaeuser pays for all that, pays for all the schooling.
Wow. That's incredible. how would someone apply for that apprenticeship program? Would they start as an employee at Weyerhaeuser?
Yeah, you
and then
have to start as production. So we only take apprentices from production. Again, it's a bid. So we post the position. It's in May because school starts in September. So we start the decision-making process in May. And you have to pass a math test and a mechanical aptitude test. And then there's an interview. Then there are millwrights on the interview panel and also management members who choose the apprentices. And once you're accepted into the apprenticeship program, then you're in it for the 4 years.
Great. That's awesome. What are the 3 professional skills that first maybe you use on a daily basis, but then maybe a second follow-up could be what 3 professional skills are most important at a sawmill?
So for everyone here, it's aptitude, attitude, and energy. So you've got to have the aptitude to learn because you're going to be learning the whole time you're here, even if you're on a machine for years and years, because we are constantly upgrading our technology. It's important that you have the aptitude to learn. You also have to have the energy. We work all kinds of crazy shifts. You need to be able to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning and be at your best. Be here on a Saturday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning and be at your best.
Yeah.
And then just attitude. So everything, being open to changes, being a good person to work with, being a good coworker, being a good teammate, wanting to better yourself, wanting to learn. That's all part of attitude.
That's great.
So aptitude, attitude, and energy. I'll just repeat it.
I like it. I like it a lot. How would you say, so I can see how someone could demonstrate a positive attitude and good energy and high energy, but how would someone demonstrate aptitude to a boss?
So it starts with our hiring process. And I wanted to speak to that. I haven't heard any questions, which is curious about our hiring process, but we start with an application. So the first indication to me that you have aptitude is that you fill out the application completely. And we have directions. So one common thing that people miss is a resume is required to be attached. And probably I'd say 10% of our applicants do not attach a resume. So you're automatically out if you don't attach a resume, which is a simple aptitude step to me. And then as I described, we have various shifts. You have to be available all shifts. And I describe those shifts as being evenings and weekends. And so that's a question on the application. Are you available all shifts? We also have people that indicate no on that question. So you're automatically out for that as well. We also are a drug-free workplace. To me, that's not a drug use question. That's a aptitude question. Either you're on drugs or you're not. And that does include marijuana. And you are tested here. So it always surprises me when people do not pass those tests. And about 90% of the people who don't pass drug tests are before they start. So it's people that we have just hired and they don't pass a drug test. We don't have hardly anybody who's an employee here fail a drug test.
Right. And that to me seems just so black and white in your environment. It's all about
very
safety.
black and white in our environment.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you look for? So if I'm sure you've looked at hundreds of resumes, what do you look for that stands out on a resume, specifically from maybe somebody who just graduated high school, who doesn't have a ton of work experience?
So I'll start out with the very basic. You've got to have your name at the top. You've got to have your phone number. That is your current and correct phone number and your email address. You would be surprised at how many resumes I have. I call the phone number and it's disconnected. It's an old phone number. The email's not on the resume anywhere, or sometimes the phone number is not on the resume anywhere. If you're wanting me to contact you for a job or the next step, I have to have that contact information. The other thing I look for in a resume is that it is clean and easy to look at. So whether you have a lot of experience or not a lot of experience, it needs to be easy for me to look at in about 3-4 seconds and see what you're all about. So kind of, I guess, how I would organize something if you don't have a lot of experience is, like I said, name, current phone number, email address, then education. Then I would put professional skills. So if you're just graduating from high school, I'd love to see your attendance record. That's really easy to get, at least here from Cottage Grove High School, get your attendance record. Show me that. Show me that you can show up to work on, or that you've showed up to school on time every single day. That's a great indicator. So that's, reliable, good transportation, cooperative, whatever you're about on there. And then any work experience, any volunteer experience that you have, put there on that resume.
That's great. I've never thought about students attaching an attendance record, but I bet that speaks volumes.
Yeah, it certainly does to me.
Yeah, that's great.
That's part of ability.
Yeah.
If you don't have availability, you don't have ability.
Mm-hmm. Can you speak a little bit about entry level wages and then maybe the wages of apprentices?
Yes, and let me grab a contract and I can tell you exactly. Let me have a contract here handy. Sorry.
No, you're fine. We'll just look at all of the cool cars on your wall.
Okay. This way I'm not just guessing.
Right.
So, new hire is 1981. 1981. Wow. So that's right at start, and then at 30 days it jumps up to 2181. Forklift driver 2301. Handy person, which is someone who does brakes, that's another higher paying job, 2408. Just a general labor like cleanup is also 2181. Let's see, merch operator 2408. Board editor 2316. Drop 2316. And I'll tell you millwright and electrician also. So let's see. Electrician 3176. And millwright. Oh, it's good wages.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Yes. Well, and even a lot of the entry level wages you just listed are way higher than most entry level jobs I've seen.
For some reason I'm not, oh, there's millwright. Okay. Millwright is 2827.
Wow. And
so when you enter in, so an apprentice starting out for the electrical program is 2527, and a millwright starting out is 2382.
Sorry, I've got something attacking my foot. Just caught me off guard. I made a funny face. Sorry, everybody. That's
sorry
incredible.
for my searching around.
No.
Usually I have a contract right here handy.
No, you're fine. You're totally fine. That's incredible. Can you talk at all about, is that for, like, starting out wage, does that stay until someone bids for another position or a new job, or is there opportunity to get a raise?
So there's a raise every June 1st. Just per the contract. So those wages I'm telling you are as of June 1st. Mm-hmm. And so you have that raise to count on. And then, yes, every job has an associated rate. So when you start out at the 1981, I think I said, mm-hmm. and then at the 30 days, you're at 2181. So you stay at 2181 until you bid to a position that pays a higher wage. And all the positions that you would bid to would be 2181 or above. You wouldn't be going lower.
Wow, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. One question in here says, why should I choose lumber production over other manufacturing jobs?
Well, I don't know that you should. We have a lot to offer, but you have to be the right type of person. So why I chose lumber production, why a lot of people choose lumber production is that it may sound, some people think it's not a secure business or industry, and we do have our ups and downs, but for example, we are running full time right now. Everybody's working full time. People are still building houses even during this crazy time. Everybody always needs a new house. People need new decks, they need a new chicken shed, whatever it is, and all those are uses for lumber. Yeah,
that's a really good point. Let me see here. Switch over. So aside from the 3 professional skills that you mentioned, what else do you look for when hiring new employees?
So I think I've covered everything. I can't really think of something else that I haven't covered, but when we're interviewing people, we ask safety questions. We ask communication questions. We ask teamwork questions.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come in here, like I said, you don't have to have experience, but you do have to have I guess I just repeat them, but aptitude, attitude, and energy. So when we ask you a safety question, we want your answer to be, I have courage with safety. I'm willing to say, hey, Lizzie, what you're doing right now, there's a better way to do it. There's a safer way to do it. You have to be able to be the type of person that can do that. I don't choose the type of person that says, oh, I saw Lizzie about to fall off a ladder and I went to a supervisor and said, hey, Lizzie's about to fall off a ladder. I'm not going to choose that person. I'm going to choose the person that said, hey, Lizzie, hey, be careful.
Yep, that makes total sense. Do you have an example of a safety question that you ask in an interview?
Well, I can't tell you our exact interview questions because those are confidential. But I might ask you something, or to think about something like, what in your work history, whether that's at school or in your work history, reflects your desire to be safe. So that could be, at home, I wear earplugs when I'm wearing a chainsaw. I wear chaps. When I'm on the road, I'm always following someone at 2 seconds or more. When I'm hunting or shooting, I'm wearing earmuffs. Things like that are always good answers.
Yeah, that's a great point. What is the most fun or exciting part of your job?
Of my job?
Mm-hmm.
Well, meeting people. I love meeting people. And whether those are employees that, everybody has a story, and it's just interesting to talk to anyone. And it doesn't matter if it's someone that we end up hiring or not hiring. I always enjoy talking to people. Everybody has something interesting to say. Interviews are sometimes the most fun and interesting conversations that you can have. And just people are unique. Just how people are reacting to the COVID is a study in behavior. What my job is about behavior. Mm-hmm. And how people show up, and that's always interesting. People are endlessly fascinating to me.
Yep, I totally agree. So speaking of COVID and this pandemic, how has your production environment changed in response to some of the safety measures we now have to take?
So we have changed in that we are maintaining 6 foot of distance. There are, of course, sometimes, especially millwrights, who can't maintain 6 foot of distance. So we have a checklist that tries to find alternates for coming within 6 feet. But if you absolutely have to come within 6 feet, each person has to wear a face shield, not a mask, but an actual physical face shield. Okay. We also have an enhanced disinfection protocol. So everybody is cleaning, from the mill manager to cleanup person. Everybody is cleaning, cleaning lunch areas, cleaning bathrooms, cleaning all surfaces. Everything's been disinfected. Everything smells like bleach here because everything's being disinfected. Operator consoles, everything you can possibly think of. In our restrooms, where there are 2 sinks or 2 urinals, there's a physical barrier now, so that people aren't within 6 feet of distance without a barrier between. Trying to think of other things, but it's been a lot.
Yeah, I bet, especially for someone in your role, implementing all those.
It's been a lot, yes.
I'm sure. And have you reported to work in person the last few months?
Yes, I'm at work right now. So we, like I said, we're working full time. It's, when you're not disinfecting, I guess, or smelling the bleach, it almost seems like normal because we are running and producing lumber. I still see the same amount of lumber outside my window that I've always seen. I still see shipping out. I can't see the log yard from here, but I trust the log yard is checking in log trucks as we speak. So it's great to be someplace that is working and stable at this time.
Right, and safe.
Safe, absolutely. Yeah, safe important. And healthy.
Absolutely.
We are all healthy. No one is sick.
That's great.
It's been interesting, actually, as a side note, that some of the normal illnesses that would go around this time of year, people aren't getting those either because of our measures.
Everything's so clean.
Everything's so clean, and we're not,
Interacting
we're not close.
Mm-hmm. What about working for Weyerhaeuser makes you most proud?
What makes me most proud is personal growth and our physical technological growth. So just since I've been here, it's just countless things. The quad saw was installed in 2017. That was a huge upgrade. The scanner that I was talking about was in 2015. So those are major technological upgrades, but we're always having any sort of upgrade, and we're always thinking about how we can improve, how we can be better the next day. So before the quad saw, we maxed out at about 55,000 board feet an hour. With the quad saw, we've run up to 104,000 board feet an hour. So just as I said, that's a huge change. Mm-hmm. But also just personal growth and development. I've been here, it'll be 5 years this August, and I've just had so many opportunities to learn and to grow. And even though I've been in the same position the entire time, I've gotten to do lots of fun things, lots of different things. There's always something new to learn. It's not stagnant.
Right. That's important in a lifelong career. Yeah. And I guess maybe as the final question, unless you have anything that you want to throw out there without being asked, what words of wisdom do you have for high school students thinking about a future career path?
Words of wisdom do I have? I think I'm fresh out of words of wisdom. I've talked so much.
Oh, goodness.
Nothing comes to mind. I have a sign here that we've talked about that's N+1. So we talk about N+1, which just means that you're one step better tomorrow than you were today. It's an algebra problem, N+1, for those who've taken algebra. But just one step better tomorrow than I am today, one step better the day after that, one step better the day after that. Have I found something that's improved this place? Have I found an improvement? Have I noticed something that, should be different? Have I had an idea? Have I done a safety intervention? Yeah. What am I doing to make this place better today? And what am I going to do tomorrow to make this place better?
Wow. So just continuous improvement,
growth.
Improvement. I like it.
We say chase perfection, catch excellence.
That's kind of like shoot for the moon and you'll fall on the stars.
Yes.
How's that go? Something like that. It's a Kanye West lyric, I think. But anyway, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you giving us more than a full 30 minutes of just one-on-one Q&A.
Well, I appreciate everybody who's listened, who is interested in Weyerhaeuser, and definitely we, not at this time with COVID, but after COVID's over, we give tours. So anybody who's interested in tours, just talk to Lizzie and I can set something up for you. It's, even if you don't end up here, it's a very interesting hour to spend just seeing what we do. I took the tour and was mind blown the entire time. So I highly suggest it for everyone out there. But thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. All right. Everyone else too. Thanks. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody. We will see you next week for a tour of the Peace Health Bike Share program. If you've seen those blue bikes all around town, then you know that there is the Bike Share program, and we'll be talking to the minds behind it. So we will see you then. Bye, everybody.